to the Mission's thrift store in Sun Valley. I'm Yana Kay for LA This Week.
You can still make a donation. Go to rescuethemission.org for information. And next week, we take you to a donation drive for the Rescue Mission at City Hall, hosted by city leaders. Councilmember Bernard Parks and the Los Angeles Neighborhood Initiative team up to fix the worst sidewalks in South LA. Janine Robinson reports.
About 40% of the city sidewalks are in disrepair. We found a way to create a system to fix these sidewalks at what we think is a fraction of the cost of rather than having the city do the work.
District 8 and Lanny are repairing 130 of the worst sidewalks in the district, and the work is starting right outside the home of a longtime resident who's been concerned about her safety and that of her neighbors.
I was afraid to walk on the sidewalk, so I started going out my back door and coming in my back door. Because these steps, I was afraid to walk on these steps. And I was afraid for other people.
Repairing sidewalks, pruning roots, replacing uplifted slabs. It's not sexy, it's not glossy, there's nothing terribly exciting about that in a headline, but it's what people really need to improve the quality of their day-to-day life.
The first 45 sidewalks are set to be repaired immediately in this first round of repairs, and Councilmember Parks hopes to repair over 400 sidewalks over the next year.
Basically, the money that we're using is called AB 1290 money, which is money that comes from property tax, and we'll continue to use it for sidewalks, and we're going to use about 150,000 of it very shortly to trim another 1,000 trees above the city contract.
I'm very happy because something's going to be done.
I'm Janine Robinson in South LA, reporting for LA This Week.
Just to put things in perspective, the city has 11,000 miles of sidewalk. The LA River is once again open for recreational activities. One councilman joins in the fight to save 2 West Side businesses from being evicted. And one new pocket park honors the work of a former council member. These stories and more in City Beat. Council members Mitch O'Farrell and Nuri Martinez, whose districts include the Los Angeles River, have announced that the city, in partnership with the U.S. Army Corps of Engineers and the Mountains Recreation and Conservation Authority, has launched the LA River Recreation Zone. The Mountain Recreation and Conservation Authority says anyone can bring their kayak or other non-motorized navigable boat to either the Elysian Valley River Recreation Zone or the Sepulveda Basin River Recreation Zone from sunrise to sunset every day. For more information, go to lariverrecreation.org. The Ed P. Reyes Greenway on Humboldt Street and Avenue 19 in Lincoln Heights is now open. The green space is named after former District 1 councilmember Ed Reyes, who championed making LA River a usable waterway and its surroundings into park space and bike paths. The greenway, which is being maintained by the LA Bureau of Sanitation, has 2 entrances, walking paths, benches, native plants, and a bike rack, to name just a few features. There is also a storm drain that helps purify stormwater before it enters the LA River. You also get a nice view of the Gold Line train passing by. After 40 years at the location, Pepe's Galley and Phil Yoakum's Bowling Supply are facing eviction after a new corporation assumed ownership of the Mar Vista Bowling Alley at Venice and Grandview Boulevards. Support for the businesses grew as word of the eviction notices spread.
It's one of those places, every neighborhood has a place that is sort of, the heartbeat of the community, where people go, where they hang out. That's just sort of part of the community. It's sort of iconic.
Councilmember Mike Bonin even joined residents outside the businesses on a recent Sunday in protest in hopes of saving them from being shuttered. The Los Angeles Police Academy has graduated 29 officers at its most recent graduation ceremony. 25 graduates from Class 1213 will serve as LAPD officers. 2 will serve as officers for Los Angeles World Airports, and 2 more as University of Southern California public safety officers.
I made sure I dedicated myself in the studies, working out, and when the time came, I applied, and thank God I'm here.
I came from the fire service. Now I'm in the police service, and I love them both, so I'm here to serve.
And of the 25 officers going to LAPD, 20 are male and 5 are female. If you're planning to hit the beach this summer, we've got some good news. A new report shows big improvements in the water quality of local beaches. Yana Kay has more.
California beaches are some of the most beautiful in the country, and now they also offer some of the cleanest water on the West Coast. According to a new report by the environmental group Heal the Bay, the water quality at local Los Angeles beaches has greatly improved, including iconic Venice Beach and Oceanside at Cabrillo Beach in San Pedro.
Millions of folks who come to LA beaches that they can feel safe and going in the water.
But despite the improvements, the county still has many beaches suffering from overall poor water quality, such as the harbor side of LA's Cabrillo Beach, which came in 4th on the report's beach bummer list.
By assigning an A through F grade based on bacteria pollution, we're giving beachgoers the critical tool to make an informed decision about when and where they go to the beach.
The report shows that 90% of beaches in LA County got A's and B's during the dry summer months of 2013, mostly due to the record low rainfall, which reduces the amount of polluted water that flows into the ocean. This is Dockweiler State Beach in Playa del Rey. Now, it's one of 8 LA County beaches that made Heal the Bay's honor roll, meaning they got A's across the board for their water quality.
That's fantastic. Just fantastic. I don't know a kid that doesn't enjoy a day at the beach.
Officials say the improved water quality is also due to more LA residents capturing and reusing rainwater for irrigation and other uses. Efforts that are helping make a big difference for our beaches. I'm Yana Kay for LA This Week.
Additional beach grades can be found by going to beachreportcard.org. In this week's list of things to do, the Echo Park Farmers Market, a ceremony commemorating the 70th anniversary of D-Day, and dance performances at the park. A staple in the Echo Park neighborhood, the Echo Park Farmers Market continues to grow in popularity because of the ever-growing number of farmers and producers who participate on a weekly basis. Established in 2006, the Echo Park Farmers Market is open every Friday, rain or shine, from 3 to 7 p.m. and is held at parking lot 663 on Logan Street, just south of Sunset Boulevard. The next farmers market will be on Friday, June 6th. You'll get a great selection of produce, plus locally produced jams and jellies, honey, and fresh farm-grown flowers. For details, go to cla.org. On Saturday, June 7th, join the celebration of the 70th anniversary of D-Day at Berth 49, adjacent to the historic SS Lane Victory in San Pedro. The World War II D-Day landings in Normandy, France, represented the largest military operation in history. It was the beginning of the end of Nazi tyranny in Europe. A special tent ceremony for invited guests and other dignitaries will be held at 1 p.m. A number of exhibits will be available to view. A flyby of vintage aircraft is also planned. Free parking at Berth 49 can be accessed at 6th or 9th Street and Harbor Boulevard. For details, go to lawaterfront.org. Grand Park Downtown is partnering with Dance Camera West as part of a week-long dance and dance film festival. And on Saturday, June 7th from 6 to 11 p.m., park-goers can catch performances by the LA Contemporary Dance Company that will extend to the nooks and crannies of the park. The evening also features a presentation of the Lester Horton Awards and special screenings of the short film Beneath Our Own Immensity and the full-length documentary Miss Hill, Making Dance Matter. Grand Park is located at 200 North Grand Avenue. Go to grandparkla.org for details. And that's a look at some upcoming things to do. That's going to do it for this edition. Thanks for joining us. I'm Ellen Chang. A reminder that you can catch us online at lacityview.org. You can also follow and like us on Facebook. We'll see you back here next week for more of LA This Week.
During California's next major earthquake, an epic battle will take place. write a brick, the brick will win. DareToPrepare.org.
911 emergency, operator 271.
The city of Los Angeles receives over 2 million 911 calls every year. Hello, I'm Mayor Eric Garcetti.
I'm Chief Charlie Beck. A significant number of 911 calls are not emergencies.
911 should be used for emergency calls, such as preservation of life, a crime in progress, prevention of a crime, or a public hazard.
If your call is not an emergency, such as a loud party, verbal dispute, public nuisance, or lost or missing property, you can dial 1-877-ASK-LAPD to have the police respond.
Remember, call 1-877-ASK-LAPD for non-emergency calls.
Los Angeles Police Department, what are you reporting?
G'day, Troy McCubbin from North Hollywood. You're watching LA City View, Channel 35, our city, our channel.
Good morning. It is Wednesday, June 4th. I want to welcome you to your Los Angeles City Council. This council meets every Tuesday, Wednesday, and Friday at 10 a.m. The public is welcome. Mr. Clerk, I do believe we have a quorum at this time. Could you please call the roll?
Blumenfield, Bono, Buscaino, Cedillo, Englander, Fuentes, Huizar, Perez, Corcoran, Labange, Martinez, O'Farrell, Parks, Price, Wesson, 10 members present and quorum, Mr. President.
First order of business.
Approval of the minutes.
Mr. Huizar moves. Fuentes seconds. Next.
Commendatory resolutions for approval.
Martinez moves. Bonin seconds. Next.
Mr. President, there are requests to send items 10, 11, 20, and 41 through 44 forthwith today. Further, there is a recommendation to receive and file item 13 inasmuch as the bill failed to make it out of the State Senate. There's a recommendation to receive and file item 14 inasmuch as the bill passed yesterday. And there is a recommendation to receive and file item 1G inasmuch as the lien has been paid in full. Lastly, there's a recommendation to continue item 22 to June 11. Again, that's item 22 to June 11.
Okay, so without objection, that will be the order. Mr. Labange, if I could get you to make a special introduction before I go through the agenda.
What's unusual, and I don't know if there's a duplicate to this, but we have the great Congresswoman Lucille Roybal Allard here.
Yeah. Stand up.
Stand up, Lucille.
Stand up.
And her father served as the council member of the 9th District many, many years ago, and our Public Works Chambers is named after the late, great Ed Roybal, and the wonderful high school, Roybal High School, just west of downtown. Thank you, Mr. Huizar, for that. Give Lucille Roybal Allard a big hand and a welcome.
Thank you. Thank you so very much, Mr. Labange and Congresswoman. Welcome. Okay, Mr. Clerk, why don't we proceed? Let's go through the agenda.
Very good, sir. Items 1 through 5 are items noticed for public hearing. Mr. President, we do have cards on items 1, 2, and 5.
Okay, let's hold those items. Any specials? Let's prepare to vote on the remaining items. Let's open the roll. Close the roll. Tabulate the vote.
12 ayes.
Next section of items.
Items 6 through 23 are items for which public hearings have been held.
Okay, specials members. I do not see any. Mr. Huizar.
12, please.
12 for Mr. Huizar. Hold item 16 as well. Mr. Krikorian.
13, please.
13 for Mr. Krikorian. Then let's, Madam Clerk.
Yes. Mr. President,
Mr.
item 13 had been received and filed. Would you like to reconsider?
No, that's fine.
Very good, sir.
You're okay? Okay, so no, there'll be no reconsideration on that item. So let's prepare to vote on the remaining items. Let's open the roll, close the roll, tabulate the vote.
12 ayes.
That brings us where?
Mr. President, items 24 through 40 are items for which public hearings have not been held. 10 votes are required for consideration.
Okay, so without objection, those items are now before us. We have cards on what items?
Mr. President, we have cards on items 31 and 36.
Okay, specials members, let's prepare to vote on these items. Madam Clerk, let's open the roll, close the roll, tabulate the vote.
12 ayes.
That brings us where, Mr. Clerk?
Items 41 through 44 are items scheduled for closed session. Would you like to hold them on the desk?
What I'd like to do is defer to the Chair of Budget and Finance, Mr. Paul Krikorian. Sir?
Thank you, Mr. President. For the moment, I'd like to ask that number 41 and 42 continue to be heard in closed session. Items 43 and 44 are routine matters. Budget and Finance recommends the approval of the recommendations, and those can be resolved in open session unless members have questions or discussion.
Okay, so at this time we will hold 41 and 42. So that leaves before us 43 and 44. Mr. Clerk?
Yes, sir. For item 43, in the case entitled Peter J. Bakotich et al. Versus City of Los Angeles, there's a recommendation to expend $3,234,750.18 in satisfaction of judgment. And for item 44, in the case is entitled Fix the City Incorporated versus City of Los Angeles, La Mirada Avenue Neighborhood Association of Hollywood versus City of Los Angeles, and SaveHollywood.org et al. Versus City of Los Angeles, there is a recommendation to expend $1,750,779.88 in settlement.
Okay, so let's take up those items. Can we do it together, Mr. Clerk?
Yes, sir.
All right. On those items, let's open the roll, close the roll, tabulate the vote.
12 ayes.
All right, so that brings us where, Mr. Clerk?
Mr. President, that takes council back to presentations or items called special.
Okay, so I think we need a few minutes before we go to our presentation. So let's go through a couple of the items. We'll take up item 2. Mr. Walsh, item 2. John Walsh on item 2.
John Walsh, blogging at HollywoodHighlands.org or J. Walsh Confidential. Check out our tweeting, which we're going to start pretty soon. This is number 2, and this concerns our old friends, the liens. And there isn't much here except one for $74,000. And these are unpaid taxes. I'd just like to leave right now, give you all these extra seconds, a moment of silence for the political career of Ms. Gruhl.
This is not on the subject. This is not on the subject. All right, let's prepare to vote on this item. Let's open the roll, close the roll, tabulate the vote.
12 ayes.
We have a special guest with us today, former colleague Ed Reyes, President Pro Tem of this council. Could we give Ed Reyes a round of applause? So what I'm going to do, Mr. Reyes, I'm going to make you listen to a couple of these items to give you a flashback as to when you were here. We're going to go to item 31, and I'd like to call Mr. Walsh to come forward.
John Walsh, still blogging, HollywoodHighlands.org. This concerns street lighting. Now, watch, he's not going to stop me now because I'm praising you, although it's off the topic, okay? It's off the topic.
Stay
it's not
on
about
the topic.
this. Okay, you did a fantastic job at Yucca and Argyle. I didn't even get a chance. The lights went out at the corner. It's scary when the lights go out. Anybody who has, and there's good lighting in Hollywood, street lighting, it is very, very scary. It is dark. I didn't even get a chance to call you. But the next day, the light was back on. See, this is off topic, but he doesn't stop me. HollywoodHighlands.org. If I praise you, you never stop me.
Thank you. Mr. Herman?
Good morning, Angelinos and Ms. Feinstein, Ms. Allard, I'm sorry. Congratulations
on the subject.
On your win.
On the subject, please.
In discussion today, we're talking about communication of the Bureau of Street Lighting and Ordinance of Intent. Establishing a hearing date for the maintenance of College Street in North Broadway Street Lighting District. This is a timely subject, for we all need improvement of lighting for those who are disabled, our elderly homeless people, our elderly vets, and those who are elderly. So I'm going to hold my time to 1 minute and say thank you again to all those that we voted in yesterday.
No, thank you. Thank
And
you.
Neil
You're off the his time.
Kashkari,
Cut his time.
congratulations.
Look, you are disrupting this meeting. Sergeants, have a conversation with him. You do it again, I'm going to show you a special seat outside. Okay, now let's prepare to vote on this item. Let's open the roll, close the roll, tabulate the vote.
12 ayes.
Okay, we're going to go to item 36. Mr. Walsh, John Walsh, and I think Ezra Caswell, and a Mr. Herman. Please come forward.
Minute 3, John Walsh, blogging at Hollywood Highlands. This is the worst I've ever seen, and I've been coming here since the early 80s. You just raised the children's admission price to the zoo. This is funding to support the publication of a children's book called Smash, Mash, There Goes the Trash, Up Your Ash. I think this is I cannot read it. We're not in the book publishing business. We're in the zoo business, okay? And how much is this going to cost? Who are the publishers of this? Are they friends of yours? Again, this is called Smash, Crash, There Goes the Trash. Oh, excuse me, $2,352 down the rat hole. HollywoodHighlands.org.
Thank you. Next speaker. Please identify yourself.
Hi, I'm Erica Caswell. I'm the senior librarian.
I'm sorry to mess up your name. Go ahead.
I'm Erica Caswell, senior librarian at Cypress Park branch of the Los Angeles Public Library. And I'm here to thank Mr. Cedillo personally on behalf of the library for his support and for funding this. This is very important to the residents of Cypress Park. I'd also like to thank Mr. Cedillo's staff member, Jose Rodriguez, for his efforts on this project. He's a credit to your office. I know the library and the community is grateful for your support, and we look forward to working with you again in the future. Thank you.
Mr. Herman.
Morning, Mr. Cedillo. I believe Mr. Walsh is correct on this issue under the funding to support a publication and distribution of children's books called Smash, Mash, Crash, There Goes the Trash. We all know that we must conduct business for interest of the public, and when we fund such projects for the children, it is the most appropriate time to do so. But under a deficit of our budget and the cost to all your constituents here today, let's keep in mind within my 1 minute that, again, Cedillo and Mr. Huizar, support our schools, get action for our schools, and let's get LAUSD back on track for higher education and college bound. Thank you.
Okay, let's prepare to vote on this item. Let's open the roll, close the roll, and tabulate the vote.
12 ayes.
Go to item 5, Mr. Herman. Item 5. Mr. Herman passes, so let's prepare to vote on this item. Let's open the roll, close the roll, tabulate the vote.
12 ayes.
Okay, I think we have a few items left, but we'll take a break from that. And I'd like to defer to our distinguished colleague from the 13th District, Mr. Mitch O'Farrell, for a very, very important presentation.
Thank you. Good morning, Council President Wesson, colleagues. I would like to ask to join me at the podium at this time Congresswoman Lucille Roybal Allard, Congressman Javier Becerra.
I didn't see you come in, Congressman. Welcome.
U.S. Army Corps of Engineers Colonel Kim Colleton. Now, our distinguished colleagues, Ms. Lucille Roybal Allard and Javier Becerra, may not be able to stay through the whole presentation, so we're going to bring them up and have them say a few words early on. But I just want to say that this is the first inaugural River Day event at City Hall, and we're all thrilled to be here.
Well,
what a few weeks it has
I'll
been.
Applaud if we're that
okay.
thrilled. Yeah, I'm thrilled.
We just opened 2 recreation zones. We held the first LA River Campout. And last but not least, with the cooperation of the local U.S. Army Corps of Engineers and our amazing partners in the federal government, 2 of whom are standing with us today, and the determination of Mayor Eric Garcetti, we were awarded Alternative 20 for the Los Angeles River. We're going to honor someone very special in all of our hearts in just a short while. But first, I would like to have our river heroine, Congresswoman Lucille Roybal Allard, to say a few words.
Thank you so much. This truly is a wonderful day for the city of Los Angeles. And I really want to begin by first commending Ed Reyes, who came to my office in Washington, D.C. around the early 2000s to say that he had this vision and this idea for the LA River, and he wanted help to make it a reality. And since that time, we have seen how the city of Los Angeles, Friends of the River, our city council, everybody has come together. And today we are celebrating the first step in the realization of that vision. And I want to really extend some sincere thanks to Colonel Colton for the Corps of Engineers for listening to our community, for trusting us, and for willing to choose or recommend Alternative 20. A lot of it took a lot of courage. Believe me, the way Washington works, it took a lot of courage for her to do that. So let's give her a round of applause as well. And just like in Los Angeles, it's taken a team effort, I also want to thank my colleague Javier Becerra and the other members of Congress from the LA region, because again, it was a team effort in Washington, D.C. that also made this possible. But the person that really put us over that winning line was our mayor, Eric Garcetti, who went to Washington to get that Alternative 20. So with that, again, thank you all. We still have a lot of work ahead of us, and I look forward to working with all of you so that one day we will be doing, I don't know whether it could be a ribbon cutting or whatever it is, but maybe we'll just be picnicking along the LA River. Thank you.
There you go. Thank you so much. Thank you so much, Congresswoman Lucille Roybal Allard. I know this much. Someday, the history books about the Los Angeles River will have you featured prominently in them for your contributions to make this happen. Thank you. She deserves a big round of applause. And next, a man who needs no introduction, but I'll give him a brief one anyway, and that is Congressman Javier Becerra, who's been in the House of Representatives now for over 20 years, a real mentor to myself, to many, many others, and a leader at Capitol Hill for our benefit, Congressman Javier Becerra.
Councilman O'Farrell, we say thank you so much, Mr. President, and to all the members of the City Council. Thank you, because you had the foresight to push for Alternative 20. You had the foresight to lead the city forward so we would have an opportunity at the federal level to try to secure the funding that it will take to convert the river into what we consider a place to go, a destination point. And we have to say thank you to Mayor Garcetti for the effort he put into this, the investment of time and networking to make it happen. But I must say, I concur with everything my colleague Lucille Roybal Allard said. Many people were involved. Louis McAdams and I were just talking a second ago about how if anyone thinks this was a momentary victory, they forget the decades it took to get to this point. And this year we hit that fork in the road, and as Yogi Berra says, we took it. And fortunately, we took the right fork in that road. And so I just want to say to each and every one of you who played a role in investing over the decades to make it possible for us to say that LA will revitalize one of its great arteries and make it a riverway we're proud of. Thank you so much for understanding that we do this for the people of Los Angeles. Thank you very much for recognizing that LA is a place to be, because our best days are yet ahead of us. To Mitch O'Farrell, to all the City Council members, thank you all very much.
Thank you, Congressman. Thank you.
Thank you, Congressman Javier Becerra. And now to say a quick few words is Colonel Kim Colleton. Colonel?
Thank you, sir. I guess I'll be very brief and just restate my commitment to where we go from here and how we go forward. And so a quote yesterday that I picked up was, you know, one person can run fast, but together with many you can go far. And really the collaboration that's happened up until this time has been from, you know, those distinguished members that just spoke before me and everybody out here. But we have more to do, and I just want to say that I'm committed. My agency is committed to continuing to develop the studies so we can bring it back to D.C. to get authorization and appropriation so we can see the change happen that the city of Los Angeles has asked for. So thank you. Thank you, sir.
Thank you, Colonel. And now I would like all three of you to join me in presenting a certificate to the City of Los Angeles on this inaugural River Day. Hold. Can we get, is this good? Thank you. Thank you so much. What an incredible day. And now I'd like to introduce someone who was just mentioned a moment ago, our friend, our local poet, laureate, and a scholar, the original friend and founder of Friends of the Los Angeles River, Mr. Louis McAdams, to lead us off with a poem about the LA River.
It's a very weird feeling to be reading a poem to the City Council while all the people that I'm reading it to are behind me. But I thought about Miles Davis, and he always played in his later years facing away from the audience, maybe because he was researching the next phase of his career. And I'd like to think maybe that's possible for me too. I feel like I've been drowning in the LA River for 27 years, and I haven't hit the bottom yet. That sounds strange, doesn't it? Anyway, this is a poem called The Voice of the River. I'd also like, speaking of Voices of the River, to remind you that the LA River Rover, our 38-foot recreational vehicle, which is an LA River mobile classroom, is outside the City Hall today. Today is its debut, and everybody's welcome to come take a look at what we've done with the help of Miss Me and Lily Kim and Eric Choi. The Voice of the River. is a red-winged blackbird twittering in the trash bags festooned across the branches of a cottonwood tree like prayer flags. The freeways are louder than the river. The I-5, the 110, the LB overwhelm the river and its tributaries with their roar. But when the tributaries bring their gifts of rainwater to the main stem, the river can be louder than the thunder rolling out of the San Gabriels. The voice of the river is the golf balls clanking in the power towers and the kids on their bicycles laughing when they spot the mud people moving along the sandbars in silent meditation. I hear the river singing through the passing railroad cars, the screeching metal as a Metrolink commuter train tears apart. News choppers circle overhead, the howling ambulance sirens followed by the coyote pack's howl, the high-pitched chee and the endless meetings, the BMPs, always one or two more, the laptops clicking, the TMDLs, the BMPs, the RFPs, the SSOs and the UAAs, the murmuring bureaucrats, the sharp whack of gavels, the deep voice of command, the swooping bats and the swallows and swifts. I listen for them to make my own hearing more acute. The scream of a fishhawk, the flashing of 100 pigeons, and the rock doves too scatter in fear. A great blue heron sorrowful honk, the trill and ripple of water moving across rocks. At the center of itself, the river is silence. And that's where I come in, with the sounds in my head and the words in my heart. Thank you very much.
Louis McAdams.
Thank you, Louis. That was amazing. Thank you so much. Along with friends like Louis McAdams, we have so many others, and we honored them earlier in the rotunda. And at this time, I would like all of the honorees to stand with me at the podium so you could be recognized as I read your names.
Mr. O'Farrell, Lily, stand over there. Good job, right in the middle.
If you have a certificate, please join me. This day is for you. And colleagues, if you haven't had a chance to say something, you'll get a moment to do so. From Council District 1, we have Lauren Bond. She was given a great honor and beautiful words by our colleague Gil Cedillo earlier in the rotunda, and thank you, Mr. Cedillo, for your kind words about this hero. From Council District 2, we have Rick Rabins of the Village Gardeners, representing Paul Krikorian. From Council District 3, representing Bob Blumenfield's office, we have Canoga Park High School's Future Farmers of America. And on behalf of Tom LaBonge, Council District 4, we have Eric Choi and Lily Kim, the president and legal counsel to the garment companies MISME and the funder of the River Rover. And from Council District 5, Mr. Paul Koretz, we have the Sepulveda Basin Wildlife Reserve. Sorry. And from Council District 6 and 7, representing Nuri Martinez and Felipe Fuentes, we have Pacoima Beautiful. And not able to attend today, but on behalf of Bernard Parks, is Alice Tolar, who wasn't able to be here. Alice. And yes, we have a very special guest today, and that is Executive Director of LA Conservation Corps, Mr. Bruce Saito, on behalf of Council President Herb Wesson.
Go Bruce, go Bruce.
And on behalf of Mike Bond and Council District 11, we have Hamid Tadoyan. Mr. Tadoyan. And on behalf of the other Mitch, Council District 12, Mitch Englander, we have the North Valley YMCA. And from Council District 14, we have Yuval Bar Zemmer, board member of Friends of the Los Angeles River, on behalf of Jose Huizar. And lastly, not lastly actually, from Council District 15, Joe Buscaino's office, we have the Council for Watershed Health. And we gave a special recognition to Mr. Mort Lecretz, who is funding a bridge across the river in Griffith Park. Thank you, honorees. And after this presentation, we will take pictures on the Spring Street steps.
Give them all a round of applause. Okay, now, I guess that's Mitchell, if you could wait a moment. Mr. Labange.
Asked because this city was founded on the Los Angeles River 223 years ago, and I wanted to thank all those very special honorees who were here today before they departed for the rest. Thank you, Mr. President.
Mr. Krikorian.
Thank you, Mr. President. I'll be brief.
No, go. I'm fine.
I just wanted to rise because we all know, all the river advocates here know, that the Los Angeles River starts in the San Fernando Valley. The vast majority of the LA River that is within the city of Los Angeles is within the San Fernando Valley. And so I just wanted to take a moment to highlight the work of Rick Rabins and Village Gardeners, who, of their own volition, from a grassroots effort, stood up and began beautifying that part of the river in Sherman Oaks and Studio City. And I just wanted to say thank you, Rick, on behalf of all the people of the Southeast Valley for all the work that you're doing there. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Mr. Krikorian and Mr. Labange. At this time, I will turn the program back over to Mr. O'Farrell.
And at this time, Mr. President and colleagues, I would like to invite our very special guest today, Mr. Ed P. Reyes, to join me at the podium. Mr. President, colleagues all gathered here this morning, welcome again to Los Angeles River Day. You already heard from some of our exceptional guests earlier, Congressman Javier Becerra and Congresswoman Lucille Roybal Allard. We stand here today, all of us together, to honor a man that served on this body for 12 years and chaired the ad hoc committee on the Los Angeles River for 11 of those years, Councilman Ed P. Reyes. Ed, you are admired throughout City Hall, in our community, and universally by river advocates everywhere for your work in this area. I must also again thank our mayor for giving me the opportunity back in 2002 while he was council member and whom I staffed while he sat on your LA River Committee as its vice chair. Working with your exceptional staff, including Jill Soriel and Lupe Vela, over a 10-year period, I witnessed your leadership firsthand. You may not have realized it. I certainly didn't at the time, but you schooled me on all aspects of river advocacy. When I was elected last year and President Wesson appointed me as chair of the Arts, Parks, and LA River Committee, I felt prepared and ready to carry on your legacy with my current council colleagues. I also want to recognize and thank Mr. Mayor Garcetti, who worked tirelessly with our federal partners, including the EPA and the Obama administration, from whom we received the amazing announcement last week. Thank you, Mayor Garcetti. But we have to acknowledge that, Ed, it's because of the groundwork you laid and your steady leadership since 2002 that we were able to go to Washington, D.C. last fall to make our case for Alternative 20, which will bring $1 billion to Los Angeles to revitalize our river. The federal funding will have a ripple effect, pun intended, improving our neighborhoods along the river, and will also positively impact our local economy, bringing with it jobs, tourism, and a healthier environment for everyone. We stand here today to congratulate you for putting the river on an irreversible course for success. After swimming upstream all these years, the river is beginning to carry us with it into the future. This billion-dollar plan, known as Alternative 20, has been adopted by the Army Corps of Engineers, supported by our mayor, our Southern California congressional delegation, both U.S. senators, and the President of the United States. It will provide habitat restoration and connectivity along the river for an 11-mile stretch in the heart of the city. Our river will become beautiful, natural wetlands, attracting birds and wildlife to give the children of Los Angeles a much-needed opportunity to connect with nature. Who knows? We may even witness the return of the stillhead trout. Ed, it is you who set in motion the events that led to this day. There is no way to cover 11 years in a 5-minute presentation, so we'll highlight just a few of your accomplishments that include putting the River Revitalization Master Plan in place and seeing it adopted in 2007. Although no master plan is ever perfect, I have to say this one is a work of art. It is a great plan because of the incredible participation from communities all along the river and the expert consultants who articulated our collective vision. Ed, it happened this way because of your leadership. Helping to create in 2008 with the leadership and vision of Congresswoman Lucille Roybal Allard, River Day on Capitol Hill was created, setting the stage for broadening the awareness in our nation's capital, therefore and thereby building federal support for the river. Making the case successfully for the EPA to designate the LA River as a traditionally navigable waterway in 2010 was also a step that helped this happen. Putting in motion the Arbor study in the first place back in 2006 by working with all of our partners also helped deliver this victory. Arbor stands for Area with Restoration Benefits and Opportunities for Revitalization, and I will never, ever memorize that. You also put the River Improvement Overlay Zone in motion so that traditionally neglected communities along the river, those that have suffered from some of the most egregious planning and development injustices, could finally have standards improving the built environment that are deserving of the people who live and work along the river. You partnered with the MRCA, the Army Corps, and the LA Conservation Corps to create recreation zones along the river, legalizing kayaking and canoeing for the first time. You helped preserve Taylor Yard, which is next to the river in Council District 1, for open space by partnering with the community and the state to build a massive new park, Rio State Park, instead of building 100 acres of industrial warehouses. Ed grew up along the river in a community that had its struggles, and because of your personal history, you brought a certain righteous authenticity to your passion for improving the river's access, its habitat, and its prospects for the future. You knew that by revitalizing our river, we would revitalize our spirits, our neighborhoods, and our city. To many, Lewis McAdams, who founded Friends of the Los Angeles River in the 1980s, is considered the father of the Los Angeles River, the man who brought to life our imaginations of what is possible there through his early advocacy and moving poetry. And Ed, if Lewis is the father of the LA River, you are its son. The leader who synthesized the various efforts and ideas into one collaborative focus, setting in motion a clear process to make our dreams of a restored Los Angeles River into reality. And for that, Mr. Reyes, we are very, very grateful. Ladies and gentlemen, Ed Reyes.
Thank you. Thank you so much. I told myself I wouldn't get to this point, but thank you, Mitch. Gracias, Mom. My mom is here with me, my wife, Martha, my brother, Richard, my son, Eddie, my daughter, Natalie, Adam and Angel, they're at school. Abby, thank you for joining us. This is an emotional moment for me. It's emotional because, one, I'm very humbled that Mitch, you would create this space. For me, was not about me. It's about all the workers, all the staff that labored so intensely to get us to this point. The Congress members that were here, I want to thank them. I know they have busy schedules. Congressman Roy Allard, when I first went to go see her in 2002, she mentioned this. I took her the set of plans of Taylor Yard, give her perspective on how we rejuvenate the river, went through some technical stuff. And she had this really long look. She was sitting back in her chair and looking at me like, is this for real? And it took a while. But at the end, her sage advice was, Ed, what you need to do is create a stage big enough so that everyone has a spotlight. And that's what I started to do. Create that stage so that everyone had a spotlight in this process. But the biggest spotlight I wanted to put on was on the community. The people who were seeking relief from the pressures of poverty, the need for housing, recreation, and all of the issues that you talk about every day. Congressman Becerra took on the role after redistricting, but jointly between Congressman Becerra and Robert Allard, we made a presence in D.C. I must have traveled 2 or 3 times in D.C., either the National League of Cities or through just advocating for every state we took since 2002. But now we have great advocates in Congressman Janice Hahn, who has been a hero in dealing with our waterway issues, with Tony Cardenas, who's also there advocating for us. So we have an amazing team in D.C. But it was the mayor who took it. I gotta say, we got close to the finish line, and he took the baton and carried it over. So thank you, Eric. Thank you for making that happen. You had the option of saying, it's not my project, it's not about me, it's not doing anything for me, it's not my deal. On the contrary, you said this was good for the region, it's good for the city, and it's necessary to take it to that point. So thank you, Eric, Mr. Mayor, for making that happen. Team Reyes, to me, and I see them here on the floor, played such a big role. Lupe Vela and Joe Soriel, they were the gladiators in the committee. But every staff person took a strong step in supporting these projects. At one point in our matrix, we had over 300 projects that we were moving. But the river itself was not about District 1. It wasn't about Ed Reyes. It was about the region. It was about drought. It was about kids who need recreation. But more importantly, it was about looking at ourselves the next 20, 30 years. How are we going to lower this heat footprint? How are we going to store our water? How will we recycle our water? How can we capture that contamination, that plume that grows in our ocean and kills our ecosystems, our coral reefs? We have the ability to do that. We traveled around the world. We brought examples. We brought engineers to give us that knowledge. And now we're here. Gary Lee Moore, our city engineer, Deborah Weintraub, Dr. Carol Armstrong, all the interns, all the workers. Let's give them a big round of applause, because they were the ones that pushed it through all those years. When I look at my colleagues that were on the committee, Tom LaBonge, who was one of the greatest cheerleaders, Eric Garcetti, Wendy Gruhl, Jose Huizar, John Perry, and tell me I didn't leave anybody out. Okay, he's not anyone that's here, okay. But these were the folks that were there, and yes, sometimes they were boring. Oh my God, another river committee meeting, why? But we had the river advocates there, and we made it happen, step by step. Everything that was shared by Councilmember O'Farrell. Mitch was there from day one when we shut down Broadway. It's our very first committee. Mitch was there, and we talked about our guiding principles. But the first meeting we had over in City Hall East, we brought in all the department heads. We brought in CAO and the CLA, Jerry Miller, but that time was Ron Deaton. And Ron stepped up and said, we'll go after the first $3 million to do the master plan. And we leveraged that $3 million to get to the $1 billion today. So that was a wise investment. But more importantly, we institutionalized what the river can be with a page in our budget. There's a page dedicated in our budget just to talk about all that we can generate and leverage with this great effort. So colleagues, in the future, I actually contemplated this, writing a motion for each one of you, for each chair of each committee, just to give you a sense of where we could be. I don't want to think too much of myself, but being in that side of the horseshoe for 24 years, there's a certain perspective that you get to build about what's good for the whole city. But as soon as we learn how to improve our private-public partnerships, and understanding the value of our assets along the river corridor, to know how to consolidate parking space so we can open up green spaces, so we can develop industries, sectors that deal with future employment while making space for affordable housing. That's what's going to make this city healthy. We are at a crisis point in affordable housing right now. We are at a crisis point. In the next 2 years, if this drought continues, where will the water come from for this great metropolis? Where can we store that water? How can we recycle it? How can we bring it out of the river so that we can look at greenways? You've got great talent in your departments that have promoted green streets. We should listen to them. The report that came in from HUD, the NELA report, it was received and filed. We should have done actions. We should have done some directives. We should have looked at concluding statements that would have led us to more action. I have great faith in you, colleagues. I have great faith in the president of this council, of our mayor. But I tell you, I grew up near the river. All my family lives in the Northeast area, and I'm not going away. I want to be part of this in one sector, in one form or another, because our children need it, our environment needs it, and it can't happen without you. So I thank you for all your hard work. I thank Mitch from the bottom of my heart for everything you've done. But more importantly, I thank all of the staff members who are out there at 9, 10 in the evening, working weekends, getting those reports done. Thank you all for everything you've done throughout these years. My heart is yours, and I receive this in your name. Thank you so much.
Mr. Reyes.
Colleagues, Ed Reyes.
Mr.
And
Reyes,
Ed, I'm
you
going
can
to
stay
present
at
you
the
with a
podium for a
certificate,
moment.
and I'd like your family to join us. Your family, please, to join us.
While you're taking the photo, let me share my thoughts, Mr. Reyes, with you as well. You know, having worked for an elected official, now as a staffer and now as a council member, knowing how busy we are and our staffs are in our own districts and current legislative initiatives that we're working on, the tireless work that's done not only in this building and in committees to take on something so significant and dedicate your life, your time to it, when it's an uphill battle, is rare amongst a lot of elected officials, and it's unique. I had the opportunity, in the shoes that I filled, to look back in Mr. Burnson and what he did. Very similar to you, Mr. Reyes. He was known as Mr. Earthquake, and a lot of earthquake seismic safety issues and what he's done to make forever the city and housing and buildings safer, bar none, than we'll ever have. What Greg did, and he was known as the trash man in Renew LA, and ending our dependency on landfills and reusing resources and making sure that trash is looked at from a different perspective, and dedicated his entire time to that as well, above and beyond everything else we're doing. Ed River Reyes, who has dedicated so much and so much effort and done such a terrific and amazing job. As I look around the horseshoe, and I know that a lot of us are very young in our careers, if you will, and some of us have been around even that we can learn from and look to, such as you and others. And we look to carve out that same type of opportunity, and where we can accomplish something for other people that will last lifetimes beyond us, is an incredible accomplishment. And my hat's off to you. God bless you. Thank you so much. Mr. LaBonge.
Salute Ed Reyes and his mother and his wife and his brother and his family and his children. The great thing about being born in Los Angeles, you have opportunity to serve Los Angeles. And if you come from Oklahoma, you could serve too. So I don't want to offend anybody that way. But the beautiful thing is when you grow up here as a child, you see things in your eyes, and you see, why can't it be different? I lived upstream from you, Ed, and I saw the same holes, but you went to UCLA where they really taught you some great things. You know, and I saw the same water in the river as it ran down, and you put us together. All the city staff, please stand up, please. Just look at this. This is all the professional staff. Michelle, please, Maury, all the city staff. Some got back to work. You put the professional teams together, and there were some boring meetings. There were some real boring meetings. But it got to a gold where we got to that we're really talking about it. And then you even go back further when you work for Mike Hernandez. You go even further in Mayor Bradley in 1988, the first meeting they had in his conference room, where I think Lewis McAdams and I were the only ones at that era who were here. Lewis was our first friend. All of it means that there's a baton to pass, and we see these young ladies here today. Today you have a baton in your hand, and you get it from somebody else. Ed Reyes had a big baton, and it's 56 miles baton, and you really set it out for us all, and we continue to it. So I'm proud to stand to salute you for what you've done. A great phantom for Cathedral High School, right in the neighborhood, and all that you do. Ed Reyes!
Thank you. Yeah.
All right.
In LA, where our rivers are paved and our streets aren't. Yes.
But we're going to end on an up note.
Right.
I'm glad that, Mr. Reyes, you acknowledged our Congresswoman Janice Hahn, and representing her today, I'd like to acknowledge Annette McDonald also. She's very much in this room, our Congresswoman Janice Hahn. At this time, I would like to invite my river sister up to the podium, Ms. Nury Martinez, Councilwoman of the Great 6th District. You want to introduce the meeting? We met at the river last week, and there was a very lively competition that took place. So here to introduce that is Nury Martinez.
Thank you very much. Thank you very much. Colleagues, I'm very proud to join my friend Mitchell Farrow in creating this video that we hope will help promote the LA River. The new recreation zone opened this summer for families to enjoy, and especially to help spread the word of the importance of the LA River. I know that in my district, in Council District 6 in the San Fernando Valley, open space is very precious, and it's just as important to residents, especially for those families who live in apartment buildings surrounded by cement. I am very thankful for the investment of my good friend Ed Reyes, who created so much excitement over a decade ago around the LA River, and that's how I got involved. And as a former executive director of Pacoima Beautiful, we felt the need to actually do something about this and create and write grants to help promote the importance of the river and the Pacoima Wash, which is a tributary to the LA River. And I'm glad that Mr. Krikorian mentioned the river starts in the San Fernando Valley. It does very well, and we need to be connected. Ed Reyes was instrumental in making the river priority as part of his city work for over 12 years as he prioritized this project in his office. We would not be here, and we would not have a River Day had it not been for our good friend Ed Reyes. So I'm very excited that in the Sepulveda Basin, we're going to kick off this new recreational zone. And I've challenged Mr. O'Farrell to a rematch, a kayak rematch. So we'll see how that turns out, and you'll check out the video. But thank you very much, colleagues, for indulging us this morning and not only supporting and promoting the river, but our really good friend and the son of the LA River, Mr. Ed Reyes.
Ladies and gentlemen, the LA River Follies.
It's another perfect day on the LA River. A perfect day for a kayak race. Our competitors are Mitch O'Farrell, Sultan of Silver Lake, Hercules of Hollywood, here on his home stretch of the river in the Elysium Valley of Council District 13, and Nuri Martinez, Queen of Council District 6, Principessa of Panorama City, Victor of Van Nuys. She's been training on her home stretch of the river in the Sepulveda Basin. The competitors are vying for the elusive golden paddle, entrusted to Omar Brownson, Executive Director of the LA River Revitalization Corp. So tell me, Omar, are we going to change the course of the LA River today? Indeed, JB. There you have it. Let's get to the race. And they're off. They're jockeying for position. And O'Farrell pulls out to an early lead. They're approaching the most dangerous part of the course, a series of rapids, boulders, that can split a kayak in two. Nuri's jostling him. She's trying to find a line. But O'Farrell backs her off. Mitch is approaching the big drop. He's pulling for dear life. Is he going to make it? Phew! He made it. Mitch O'Farrell has a sizable lead, and it looks like Nori's in the weeds. Nuri's out of the weeds, and merrily, 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 life is but a dream on the LA River today. O'Farrell has gotten his groceries delivered by Good Eggs. For all local grocery delivery in Los Angeles, it's always Good Eggs. Wait, he's gotten out of his kayak, he's running up the river. What's he doing? O'Farrell, scoping out some mid-century modern furniture at Modernica Prop House? Modernica, for all your mid-century modern needs. Martinez is really making up for lost time. O'Farrell's going to have to hustle if he wants to stay in this. And he's back, and the race is on. And Martinez has gotten the lead again. O'Farrell has taken it back. And it's Martinez. Martinez has gotten it. Now it's O'Farrell. Martinez. O'Farrell. Martinez. O'Farrell. Martinez. O'Farrell. What the? Is the masked man in the Go Fast boat? And how did he get that boat on the river? Oh, it's Herb Wesson. Council President Wesson wins the golden paddle.
proud to receive his award, the Golden Paddle, Council President Herb Wesson, on behalf of Omar Brownson. Thank you.
Let's give him another round of applause. That was great. Mr. Bonin. Mr. Huizar.
Thank you very much. And that video is so true. Nothing happens in this council without Herb Wesson. So that's very appropriate there. And I guessed who was going to win there. But I just want to lend my voice of thank yous to O'Farrell for putting this together. And also, Mr. Reyes, I was one of those council members who thought yet another ad hoc river committee meeting. But you know what? Now that I look back, I saw all the building blocks that you were putting together to make today possible, to make the federal government easy to see the vision that you saw many, many years ago. So thank you so much for your work again, Ed Reyes. And for myself, you know, when I saw the river as a kid growing up in Boyle Heights, the river was a dividing line. It was a dividing line between the haves and have-nots. It was a whole different world that we wouldn't come over that river sometimes to explore because we felt it wasn't our place. But now, as we revitalize this river, it is a symbol, I think, of where Los Angeles is heading, which is a unified Los Angeles, that every public asset is for every Angelino. Thank you all so much who worked on this project. Thank you.
Mr. Koretz.
Thank you, Mr. President. I just wanted to say I grew up in L.A. I was born in Los Angeles, and I grew up with the L.A. Concrete Channel. I never really thought of it as a river. I never thought we'd ever see it as a river or talk about it seriously. And when it was suggested that we use it as a freeway when it's dry, actually didn't seem like such a bad idea until we had a giant rainstorm and realized that we might lose a few people every time that happened. It's just amazing. This is a vision that I think very few people had. If you had asked me whether this was possible and whether we should go ahead with this effort, especially many years ago, I would have said, hell no, there's no possible way this can happen. So I would like to thank Ed Reyes and others for an amazing vision of what really looked to be impossible that we now know will be possible, and Los Angeles will be known for some things, including a river. It's still hard for me to believe, even as I say it now, but we will be famous for many things, including a wonderful river that runs through the city of Los Angeles. And I thank Ed Reyes for his incredible vision and incredible hard work in making this happen.
Mr. Bonin.
Thank you, Mr. President. First of all, Mitch, great job on that video. When you took the lead ahead of Nuri, I was assuming, like others who took an early lead on Nuri, you were going to get your butt kicked in the end. I wasn't counting on Mr. Wesson to come up from behind. But I wanted to rise to say, just got that, huh? I rose to say a few words about Mr. Reyes, who I had the privilege of seeing around this horseshoe for years before I was a council member, before you were a council member, when we were both staffers. When you stood up, Ed, you said that you were humbled by this acknowledgement today, and that struck me because I have always thought of you as a very humble man. I have often regarded your service as a model of a humble public servant, of bringing humility into this job and into this chamber and into the perspective with which you addressed a range of issues in your district and citywide. And I wanted to acknowledge how much I appreciate that and how much I respect the fact that you always demonstrated that it was possible to do this job with great seriousness while being incredibly kind and incredibly gentle at the same time. And I just want to thank you for all your years of service to the city.
Mitchell, would you bring your staff Mr. O'Farrell's staff did a phenomenal job. They should get a round of applause.
Yes. Up there. Okay, so we'll go take a picture. Let me just tell you, Christine Peters was the producer of this program.
Yes.
Yes. And the whole staff has been involved in this day and the planning and execution of this day. And even at the shoot, we had several staff members from the field as well. So Christine, Mary Rodriguez, Sylvan de la Cruz, David Hiron, Star Parsemian, Harut Samerjian, William Ayala. Am I forgetting? I mean, just Jeannie Min, my chief of staff. Gigi Galias, a big part of all of this. I really want to thank my staff, and I also want to thank Rory Mitchell, who directed this picture. It was like a professional production shoot. So, well done. And I love my staff. They're just incredible, and they motivate me every day of every week to do a better job. So I thank all of you. And thanks, Mr. President, for giving me the opportunity to thank my staff. I really appreciate that.
Oh, no, they deserve that. Plus, I will expect you to do... to keep your word on my Walk of Fame star, you know. So with that said, again, congratulations. One more round of applause. Mr. Weezer, you called an item special. I think it was 12.
12 and 45, but whichever you want to take up, Mr. President.
Let's go with 12.
12, thank you. And this is just a brief introduction to a member who has been proposed by the Mayor's Office for the Harbor Area Planning Commission. Ms. Baker is here. Ms. Deborah Baker? Okay. Welcome. And colleagues, she has an impressive background. She is a trustee on various groups and has a long history of working in the labor movement, and we just want to present her as a nominee for the Harbor Area Planning Commission. If you have any questions for her, she's here for any questions you may want to ask her. But we strongly endorsed her in plum. Thank you and welcome.
Thank you. Why don't you share with us a little bit about yourself?
Sure. Good morning. I am Deborah Baker. I wanted to take this opportunity to thank Mayor Eric Garcetti and the City Council for this opportunity to serve on the Harbor Area Planning Commission. I live and work in the Los Angeles Harbor area. I've worked 29 years with the Laborers Union. I've sat, like he said, on joint labor and management committees, and it is my honor and privilege to serve the community and to give back the area that I know and love. Do you have any questions?
Okay, no questions. Let's open the roll, close the roll, tabulate the vote.
13 ayes.
Congratulations. Mr. Clerk, let's now move to item 1. I have some cards. On 1, I have Mr. Herman, Mr. Walsh, and Miss Patricia Mendoza. In fact, Miss Mendoza, why don't you go first? Come on. Go right ahead.
Good morning, sir. I wrote a late protest letter, and I'm giving everyone copies, and I would appreciate if you guys can read it when you guys have time. But I also would like to inform all city councils that this morning I spoke to Charles, which is in charge of the financial office for LA High School, for LA City, and the inspector and the staff of Gil Cedillo, which he is my city council CD1. We're going to go ahead, sir, and do mediation. If things don't work out, I'm going to come back here.
Okay, so Mr. Cedillo, you want to continue this for 2 weeks, Mr. Clerk? That date, 2 weeks from today, would be what?
Mr. President, that's June 18.
Okay, so this matter's continued. She is 425, right?
Yes, sir.
North Boylston?
North Boylston.
Yes, so you have that, Mr. Clerk?
Yes, sir, that's item A.
So it'll return when?
2 weeks, that would be June 18.
June 18.
What date would that fall, sir? Because
What day is that, Al?
I work and I do freelance and I can't afford to lose work, but I do have a
Let
few
us
days
give you the date.
during the week, please.
That's a Wednesday, 2 weeks from today.
Wednesday, perfect.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you,
Mr.
sir.
Walsh, Mr. Herman, or Mr. Herman, Mr. Walsh, whoever's closer to the mic.
John Walsh, blogging at HollywoodHighlands.org. You see these people, the person who was just up here, we talked to her. We explained her rights, Mr. Herman and I, and you'll notice these things are continued. The person who complains never comes back. You know why the person who complains about an illegal lien never comes back? Because they were illegal and they're removed. I want everyone to know, if you protest a lien and come down here, you're almost certain to win, because these liens are they're not legal. And she's not going to have to pay a damn cent. And she doesn't have to. Hollywood Highlands, and of course most of them are minorities, because you don't do that to white people like me. HollywoodHighlands.org.
Ms. Herman?
Sorry to mention Los Angeles, but Miss Pat here has protested her letter in a very professional manner to acquire the services of his illegal predatory liens. Are not the citizens or us taxpayers protected by the liens? Does the city have the sufficient justification to protect us taxpayers the rights of due process upon notice? Upon notice, Mr. Fuentes, as you laugh about it, this poor lady wasn't laughing when she was up here speaking regarding building and safety, regulatory, discriminatory, prejudice attacks for a lien. Come on. Get on the game, Mr. Fuentes.
He should
and
be
again,
speaking to the council.
Going back to unreasonable violations
Direct all
of
that
due
to me,
process,
Mr. Herman.
regarding item 2B on last Friday, the time 2:11 and 48 seconds, precarious position to violate the rights of your constituents, precarious position of due process of illegal liens without order, and again, without order of heart for illegal liens of municipal board review assessment. Did you take action or protocol or regulation on this poor request of illegal liens? This is not the first one. There's a list. A, B, C, D, E, F, G, H, I, J, K, L, M, N, O, P. We have so many liens. What are you going to do? What are you going to do? And I'm specifically talking and protesting on behalf of this woman constituent on item A, located in CD1, 425 North Boylston Street, Boylston Street, a lien for $2,838.83, Mr. Kakarian.
Thank you. Okay, let's prepare to vote on the remaining items. Let's open the roll, close the roll, tabulate the vote.
13 ayes.
Okay, let's move to item 16. There are no cards on this item. Let us prepare to vote. Let's open the roll, close the roll, tabulate the vote.
11 ayes, 1 no.
That passed. Mr. Clerk, can we recess this meeting and move to the special meeting?
Yes, sir. Blumenfield, Bonabus, Gano, Cedillo, Englander, Fuentes, Huizar, Carrasco, Corcoran, Labange, Martinez, O'Farrell, Parks, Price, Wesson. 12 members present and a quorum, Mr. President. Mr. President, we do have one item before you. That's item 45, and it's an item for which a public hearing has not been held. 10 votes are required for consideration.
So without objection, this item is now before us. I have Mr. Huizar, I have some cards. You want me to take care of the cards first? I'll start with John Holland, Mr. Walsh, and Mr. Herman. Yes, sir.
Good morning, council members. John Howland with the Central City Association. CCA is a business advocacy organization representing over 450 businesses, employing over 350,000 people in downtown and throughout the region. We are supporting the expedition and implementation of this program. Downtown has over 50,000 residents, with 5,000 apartment and condo units coming in, being built currently, with 13,000 in the pipeline. Downtown has a lack of open space, a lack of green space, a lack of recreational opportunities. This bike path is a great step on that opportunity to create open space and recreation opportunities, not only for the residents, but for the millions of visitors to downtown every year. We encourage you and urge you to support this. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Howland. Mr. Walsh, followed by Mr. Herman.
John Walsh, blogging at HollywoodHighlands.org or J. Walsh Confidential. I just put up a tweet. This is important, and of course we're in favor of river bike paths, also motherhood and the flag. But in this city, bikes are supposed to be on the path. 90% of the bikes are on the sidewalk. I've been hit. So the shot that I took would have killed a woman in her 80s and 90s. I'm pretty durable. This is 4 or 5 years ago. I want to know what safety we have, because the cops have told me we do not ticket anyone who's on the sidewalk on a bike, riding a bike, unless, of course, they hit you. Now, if I'm wrong, tell me I'm wrong. And I just want, everyone to know out there, you can be killed, and people have been killed on bike paths. It's kept out of the newspaper because we have all these bike riding reporters. I'm telling you right now, I want to know in this this prioritization of the in-channel downtown Los Angeles River bike path, what guarantees do we have that we won't be hit by a bike? And we're not hit by a bike and the reason they give these bikeaholics why they're on the sidewalk is it's too dangerous on the city street. It's too dangerous in the traffic. Everybody knows it. They don't give a syphilitic rat's ass up here about you. They don't give how many people are hit, and the cops are just as bad. HollywoodHighlands.org. Get the damn bicycles off the sidewalk.
Mr. Herman.
Nice job, John. Great teacher. Excellent teacher. But we're talking about what Mr. Weezer and Cedillo have asked in consideration to a relative priority of implementing a bike path on the channel of downtown Los Angeles. Have you did a study, a sufficient study for those people who are disabled and ride bikes on that bike path? Have you applied the regulations and the codes for people who are disabled, elderly, who wish to use a bike path as well? Is it safe? Safety and health is a condition that we all need to improve on. And that's the reason why certain people were not reelected, because they forgot about the hit and run capital of the world, Los Angeles. We are the hit and run capital in Los Angeles, and it's growing. It's a popularity of death, mistake, malice, and Mr. Englander just sits there nodding his head at me like, so what? I want a bike path. Precarious position you put the public in, Mr. Englander. And I'm not upset about it because
direct your questions
the downtown Los Angeles River bike path is in partnership of using federal and state funding, sir, so that people with disabilities that fall under Title I and II, Section 504, ADAAG, a compliance to these regulations for a bike path, that people who are disabled, people that are elderly, have the sufficient safety to be on a bike path along with everyone else. It's called full inclusion. Keep your 6 seconds, knucklehead.
Okay, Mr. Englander. Mr. Huizar.
Thank you, Mr. President. And colleagues, we will be sending this item to T Committee. There were some questions raised about the connectivity with the rest of our bike master plan, and we'll speak to Mr. Bonham, but we anticipate that those questions will be answered in committee. But what this motion is about is very important. We talked today about the importance of revitalizing the Los Angeles River and its master plan, but this motion really fills a gap in our current plans with respect to bike paths along the river. The bike path that exists is a tremendous asset, both as a recreation and as a commuter option. But one problem is that there's no connectivity in the downtown stretch of the river bike path. It ends. Current plans would take cyclists actually away from the river in downtown and put them in other places. We think there is a better way, and that we can provide the bike path through downtown in the river, whether it is the channel floor or along the bank or some combination, and we would love to explore this. This motion will put us to work in finally connecting the downtown stretch so that the river bike path finally stretches from the San Fernando Valley all the way down to Long Beach. And Long Beach, in fact, does have river bike paths along its river. It's a vision propelled by Friends of the Los Angeles River and others, but especially our Council District 14 river hero who was honored today, Yuval Bar Zimmer, who's still here. Thank you, Yuval, for championing this and bringing this idea to us. He has also championed on the 6th Street Bridge Advisory Committee a connectivity between the bridge and the river below it. We appreciate that, and we appreciate his work on there. So, colleagues, with conversations we've had with the Chair of Transportation, Mr. Bonin, we will move this to committee, hear it next week, and hopefully bring it back real soon to full council.
Mr. Bonnet.
Thank you, Mr. President. I just want to say we will do this quickly in T Committee. We'll look at it on Wednesday. As it prioritizes something, I just want to see what the impact will be on other stuff. But as I'm standing to say something about a Huizar motion on bicycling, I think it needs to be underscored that you have been the undisputed champion of making bike stuff work in this city. So I look forward to helping and supporting on this.
Okay, so then without objection, we'll send this item to the T Committee. And there's no action necessary then at this time. Right, Mr. Clerk?
That is correct, sir.
Okay, so why don't we adjourn? You know, again, that's the order. This is being sent to the Transportation Committee. Let's adjourn this meeting and return to the regular meeting. At this time, it would be appropriate to take up the closed session items. Do you need to read them, Mr. Clerk, as we prepare to clear the chambers? Okay, sergeants, if you could please clear the chambers. This body is going to go into closed session. then we will. Okay, Miss Martinez, for a very special introduction, and I think Mr. Krikorian may be a part of this as well. Oh no, Miss
And
Martinez.
Mr. Weezar.
Mr. Weezar.
So thank you very much, Mr. President. I apologize. Colleagues, I'm very proud to welcome these young ladies that are proudly representing the Miss Zacatecas program. I'd like to introduce Mireya Jesus Orozco, Señorita Zacatecas, Los Angeles.
Welcome.
And we also have as well Council Mario Perez Ramirez from the Mexican Consulate. Is he still here? Oh, he just left. So thank you so much. These young girls are real role models and symbolize and embrace their heritage and the country in which they now live. So I would just want to introduce them to the
one.
City
Who are the
Council.
other ones?
Do you want to say your names?
Yeah.
I will go ahead and go ahead.
Hi, once again, my name is Mireya Orozco. I'm Señorita Zacatecas at this moment, and I'm so happy and privileged to be here with you guys. It's an honor and a great privilege, like I said. As I'm looking around, I've noticed, and I was kind of like looking at Miss Martinez over here. I'm very, it makes me very proud to see her in this board because she's a woman, and she's the only woman, I believe, here. Right? So it gives us hope that women are coming up. Thank you.
Thank you very much.
And the names of the others?
Do you want to introduce yourself? Sure.
Hi, my name is Diana Escott. I'm from Pasadena, and I used to volunteer with the City Attorney's Office. So I'm very familiar with the city, and I think it's very exciting I get to be here again, and thank you all.
Welcome.
Hi there all. I'm Griselda Mayorga. It's just like my girls here have said, it's a pleasure to be here. I've never taken part of such thing like this, so I feel really, really honored to be here. And just like my Mireya said, it's an honor to see Miss Martinez here, and she's basically a role model for all of us, and we girls could do it as well. Thank you.
Mr.
Thank you very
Weezar.
much. Mr. Weezar has roots in Zacatecas. As you know, my family is from Zacatecas, from Sombrerete, but I know you have roots in Zacatecas as well, so I want to yield to Mr. Weezar.
Thank you, Ms. Martinez, and thank you for bringing the court today. We're so proud of you, ladies, as you represent our great state of Zacatecas. And for those of you who are not aware, Mexico, it's regionalized where we identify the state where we come from. We have strong ties to it, and we are very proud for those of us who come from the state of Zacatecas and all it represents. It's a beautiful state with it's desert-like, colonial, hardworking people, humble people, and that's what makes people from Zacatecas great. But Mr. President, when we had the LGBT event, the mariachis came in and they were singing La Marcha de Zacatecas. Anything Zacatecas, I'm going to identify for you. But the other reason I pointed out is that the Marcha of Zacatecas is known as the second national anthem for all of Mexico. And 50% of the people who were born in Zacatecas actually live in the United States, so we have a strong connection with that state. And here in Los Angeles, we have one of the highest areas of Zacatecanos next to the city of Chicago. But welcome, ladies, and you make us proud, and thanks for representing Zacatecas. Thank you.
Thank you, Mayor, very much, Mr. President.
Thank you, and welcome. And I'm sorry for that mix-up. So with that said, now we will return to closed session.
The average adult spends more than 8 hours in front of a screen each day. Children spend up to 4 hours. Studies show that sedentary lifestyles put you at risk for disease, even at an early age. But a healthy lifestyle is just a click away. Los Angeles Recreation and Parks provides over 16,000 acres of parkland with parks and lakes, swimming pools, golf courses, skate parks, and dog parks, and more than 180 community recreation centers. A healthy lifestyle is just a click away. laparks.org.
Just takes one cup.
Every year, thousands of children in our community drop out of school, they quit on their families, they give up on themselves. But together we can change that.
By sponsoring a child for the cost of 1 cup of coffee a week, you can provide a child with a mentor, a place to play,
And a safe haven like Hollenbeck Pal.
With 1 cup, I can play soccer after school.
With 1 cup, it helped me get here to college, preparing for my future.
It just takes a moment to change a child's life. Go to onecup.org and make a difference today.
Sergeants, we open the door and invite the public back in after we concluded executive session. We thank Mr. Krikorian, the chairman of the Finance Committee, at this time. And Sergeant, will you check the corridor in case anyone's in the corridor? We have 4 cards for public comment. Mr. Clerk, is there anything before us?
Mr. President, we do have items 41 and 42 still before council. In regards to item 42, there's a recommendation to continue that matter 1 week. That's to June 11.
Very good. Without objection.
And for item 41, in the case entitled Maria Becerra versus City of Los Angeles, there is a recommendation to expend $10 million in settlement.
Very good. And we have a motion on that, Mr. Clerk?
Yes, sir, we do.
So we could vote on that?
Yes, sir.
Right now?
Yes, sir.
Let's open the roll on that item. Close the roll. Tabulate the vote.
Twelve ayes.
12 ayes. Thank you very much, Madam Clerk. Next item.
Mr. President, that takes council back to general public comment for items not on council's agenda.
Juan Alcala. Juan Alcala. Is Ms. Martinez here? Ms. Martinez at 90033. Mr. Walsh.
John Walsh, blogging at HollywoodHighlands.org. We just had an election yesterday. We said the final goodbye to Wendy Gruhl. She's out of the picture. We took her out. As you know, I am chairman of Citizens for Leland Yee. I just got an email, which I'll show you, from the Sacramento Bee for an interview because he surprised the entire state of California by receiving over 300,000, almost 300,000 votes. I was the one that pushed his candidacy, and so did other people here. Okay, Prang and John Morris are in the runoff for assessor. When we, incidentally, we have it here, the dirty newspaper that has the ad for Wong, we brought that up, that killed his candidacy. We spoke for a true black man where you can't rub the black off him, and that's Mr. George McKenna, and he beat a phony black man, Alex Johnson, who takes a shower and is whiter than I am. And we beat him by almost 2-1. Dr. McKenna is an old-style black man that I kneel in front of and learned everything I say from people in his generation, not from garbage like you. Okay, next. Wendy Gruhl, she's gone. Ted Lieu, we said we would take him, he would win, and he has come in first. Alex Johnson is finished. Chuck Calderon, we had a campaign against Calderon. He's a crook. He was for judge. Carol Rose won. Sandra Fluke, she came in second, and she's the one who was called a slut by a talk radio host. She's 2. We had an amazing, we came here yesterday and told you who to vote for, and you damn well voted for them. HollywoodHighlands.org.
Mr. Herman.
Started my time early, if that's okay. So we can say we will do away with injustice, such unethical integrity by you, councilmen, to say to the public, we don't need your comment. When we enable the truth from error, we have distinguished the truth from error, Mr. Koretz and Mr. Huizar, who no longer sits in his seat right now. And however, Mr. Duarte, the accident of grabbing my arm back there, I just want you to be aware, the bell was a part of my garment. You broke it, you tore it. Thank you. Such great service to your constituents. And Mr. LeBong Bong, don't be upset. You look so red and fiery in eyes. Is it time to go to sleep? Because I've been resting, and now I'm alert. That Coke gave me the squirt. and I'm up and not being a jerk. So, with over 100,000 people killed during the last century, it takes 6 million lives a year, an average that it kills persons of every 6 seconds. It's called tobacco. 1 out of 5 people die of tobacco, Mr. Englander. And because Mr. Weezar with his DUI, you don't have to hide under the seat, I'm right here. And because Mr. Weezar is not here to talk about the DUIs, you've created the hit-and-run capital of the world in Los Angeles first. And I'm going to commend you for that. You created it. So stop the nonsense, do public business, respect your constituents, and Neil Kashkari, congratulations. Yeah, woo! And to you, Wendy Gruhl, or as Zuma Dog puts it, Helen Keller, goodbye.
Patricia Mendoza.
Yes, I have a question for City Attorney regarding liens, conflict of interest. You have the Board of Building and Safety Commissioners, and then you have Department of Building and Safety, and then you have all of you city councils. When you guys change rules, laws, no different than rent control for people to be evicted, I'm just kind of confused if city councils are there because we, the taxpayer people, the community, the tenants, the landlords, you guys work for us, and we're here to have your support, help us, guide us, but you're putting liens on these properties, and I'm here to express myself and to either dispute or defend myself. My question, sir, to the city attorney, at the end, it's like I'm going back to the same circle. Isn't it a conflict of interest? Maybe you cannot answer me, but I will be sending a letter. I have a question because you guys are the ones that are making these laws. So it's basically, it's like I turn around and then you guys stamp me here, a tattoo. You know, like saying, how are you, Ms. Mendoza? You look great, you look beautiful. You know what, you're welcome here. This is who we work for you. You can come here, express yourself, but suddenly I turn around and bam, I get this lien. Without getting any letters, sir, for the past 4 years. There's 12 months out of the year, and I didn't even got one regular letter. I'm not protesting for a certified, just one letter. I've been there for 50 years. But my question, with all due respect, city attorney, I still believe it's a conflict of interest. I still have 11 minutes, 10 minutes, seconds, I mean.
If I could fill the void somewhat, our office address is Los Angeles City Attorney's Office, 200 North Main Street, 800 City Hall East. If you could let me know what your concerns are and mail it to me, Dean O'Connell, and then
Thank you,
I'll
Mr.
be
City
able to
Attorney.
respond.
Maybe you could say
Thank
hello
you,
on
sir.
the ropes.
Thank
Very
you.
nice. Thank you, Ms. Mendoza. Thank you so much.
Mr. President, there's been a request from member to send item 15 forthwith.
Forthwith on 15.
Very good, sir.
Very good.
Council
Members?
has motions for posting and referral.
So ordered.
The desk is clear.
Okay, any announcements, members? Any announcements? I do have one tomorrow on behalf of Mr. Weezar. Hope for Firefighters on Hope Street. Support of the local business community here in the Central Business District. Hope for Firefighters. Send your staffs over just right down on 3rd Street, right by the Wells Fargo Tower. Would you rise for adjourning motions, please? Mr. Parks.
Thank you. I'd like to ask us to adjourn in memory of Reginald Reggie Moon, who was born September 1958, passed away May 30th, 2014. He was the youngest of 4 children, attended Marvin Avenue School, Crescent Height Elementary, Louis Pasteur Middle School, and graduated from Hamilton High in 1977. While at Hamilton, he ran varsity track and played football and was voted the homecoming king his senior year. He also attended Trade Tech He worked as a chem search in sales, eventually moving into property management, following the example of his mother, who became a proud owner of several residential properties in the Pico Fairfax area. In 1990, he met Pam Bright and married, from that union, they had two sons, Cameron and Everett. As a loving father, he became an active member of Holman United Methodist Church, where he remained a loyal parishioner for almost 25 years. Over the years, he served as the chair of the trustee board, member of the Jubilee Voices, an advocate for youth ministry, a volunteer counselor at the youth camp. He was instrumental in starting the Jazz on Thursday. Reggie was one of the first to help friends and family in various projects, from home improvement to car repair to babysitting and cookouts. Reggie was an accomplished entrepreneur, a master chef, and was a protege of Milton Williams' Catering to the Stars, eventually opening his own company, Moonlight Catering. Leveraging his passion for culinary arts, he quickly became a favorite on the Fresh Prince of Bel-Air TV set. Reggie nurtured his lifelong love of the outdoors and sports to the fullest of his family and friends. He was especially avid table tennis player, competing in many tournaments. He followed his pro, college, and high school football and an exceptional knowledge of local high school football statistics. He affectionately followed Crespi, Venice, and Loyola high schools. He traveled extensively through Europe, Mexico, the Caribbean, and domestically in the United States. He's survived by his sons Cameron and Everett, adopted sons Reuben, Thomas, and Gerard, and a host of family members. His services will be held tomorrow at 1 p.m. at Holman Methodist Church at 3220 West Adams Boulevard.
Members, we see no other adjourning motions. Continue to serve the city well. Thank you for your service and your staffs and all public employees of Los Angeles.